Mistake number 1, chasing last year's winner. You open an app, sort by 1 year returns, and pick the fund at the top. It feels smart. The data says it's the most expensive mistake in investing. India is investing like never before. Record SIP inflow scores of first-time investors and finance advice everywhere you look. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The biggest studies of Indian investors all point to the same expensive mistake. Let's go through them one by one. Here's a real example. During the pandemic, pharma funds shot up. By 2022, one fund showed a 23% 3-year return. Investors rushed in after the rally, and the average investor earned about 6% less per year than the fund itself, because they bought at the peak. And it's not just one fund. Axis Mutual Fund studied 20 years of investor behavior. Equity funds delivered over 19% a year, but the average investor earned under 14 on 10 lakh rupees. That gap is the difference between 3.2 crore and 1.3 crore. Value Research ran the same test across 170 diversified equity funds over 10 years. The result? In fund after fund, investors earned less than the very funds they owned, not because the funds failed but because investors kept jumping in and out. Why does this happen? Because winners rotate. S&P's persistence research shows that top-ranked funds have roughly random odds of staying on top. Last year's number one is usually just last year's story. And here's why chasing never works. Sectors rotate. Of the 6 sectors that beat the Indian market in 2024, 5 were trailing it just 6 months later. The gap between the best and worst sector, over 28%. Yesterday's heroes become today's laggards faster than you can switch funds. Now zoom out. S&P's India scorecard tracks every active fund against its benchmark. Over 5 years, about 90% of large-cap funds failed to beat the index. Over 10 years, 73% of large-cap funds, 82% of mid- and small-cap funds, and 87% of tax-saver funds all underperformed. If professional managers struggle to beat the market, what are the odds that you'll pick next year's winner from a returns table? Want to see this instinct at its most extreme? SEBI studied futures and options traders. 93% of individual traders lost money over 3 years. Combined losses, over 1.8 lakh crore rupees. And the scariest part, 3 out of 4 loss-making traders kept trading. Chasing quick returns isn't a strategy. It's a tax on impatience. So here's the playbook that actually works. 1. Build your core with a simple, low-cost index fund. The data says that's the hardest thing to beat. Then, judge any active fund on 5-year rolling consistency, never a 1-year rank. 3. Check the expense ratio. Costs compound, just like returns. 4. Match the fund to your goal and your risk. And 5. Once you've chosen, stay invested. Boring is what builds wealth. Remember 3 numbers. 73% of large-cap funds couldn't beat the index over 10 years. Chasing performance cost the average investor about 5% every year for 20 years. And 93% of traders chasing quick profits lost money. The market rewards patience and punishes the chase. Quick confession time. Have you ever picked a fund just because it topped a returns list? Comment yes if you're honest enough. If this video added value, hit the like button, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe with the bell icon so you never miss an insight.